being a young mom, I would say it has its joys. I hate when people say that once you have a kid, your life is over with, because I feel like my son, he brings joy to my life.
When I became a mom, I held him for the first time. Like, that just really changed my life.
When I found out I was pregnant, I was so excited because I've always wanted to be a mom. You know, I've always wanted to have a bond like that.
You get love from somebody, you get to learn responsibilities too.
My dream was like go to college, experience like prom and all that good stuff, but I didn't get to experience none of that.
Before I had Aiden, I wanted to actually go to Columbia and go to USC for broadcast journalism. But now that he's here, it changed a lot. So I just decided to just go to cosmetology school because it would be the easiest thing to do.
It's like, as a mother, I just feel like I should, bring something to the table for my kids too.
It's hard being a young mom because you are going to have the days you cry. You are going to have the days you're happy. You are going to have the days where you feel like you're not going to want to be there. And at first, I didn't even have a job. I didn't have a job, and I used to cry. I used to have to beg people to buy me diapers because my baby daddy wasn't there. So I pushed myself.
So this is like saying, well, if we were to approach improving outcomes for young children with the same sort of intentionality and the same sort of design thinking that Apple puts into designing the next generation iPhone, what would the early childhood system look like?
We talked to moms in different parts of the state. Then as we came back and spent weeks really studying and listening to the footage and then listening again and making notes.
The real strength of design thinking is the commitment to empathize on the front end, the commitment to engage the situation as openly as possible.
I relate to these moms. When I was pregnant, I was 1,000 miles away from my family, doing it kind of by myself. And so I feel like I've had some challenges over the years that are very similar to the challenges of these families.
I just think about the countless hours we spend in committee meetings or in focus groups where we're asking people to tell us something, but what we're really doing is hoping that they're going to tell us the one thing that we want to fix.
Each different person, your opinion is based on, and your knowledge is based on your experiences. For as much book knowledge as we may have about things, it's also about our experiences. And so for the young parents that are in the middle of it right now, what they view as their experience versus us is two different things. I can say, well, you need X, Y, and Z, and they're like, I don't even care about that. What I need right now are these things. And a lot of times we don't include the people that we're trying to impact in the decision making of how we're going to go about helping them.
My name is Dornisha, and I am 19 years old.
My name is Hope. I am 22 years old, and I have 3 kids.
My name is Deja Tucker. My baby name is Demore Tucker. He's 6 months. I'm 18, and I had him when I was 17.
My name is Takaya Norman. I'm 21 years old, and I have 1 son and a baby girl on the way.
My name is Anna Sadier. I have a two-year-old boy, and his name is Isaiah.
My name is Shaniqua McDuffie. I'm 17 years old. I found out I was pregnant when I was 16, and I have an 11-week-old little boy.
My name is Courtney Cieslik. I am 29 years old. I have 3 children.
Well, my name is Markeisha Spencer. I'm 23 years old. I have 2 children.
My name is Maria Garcia, and my age is 35.
My name is Narissa Prescott, and I'm 19 years old.
My name is Shantae. I am 27 years old. I am a single parent in a single household with just me and my 3 kids.
A typical day for me looks like me getting me and my children dressed in the morning, probably around like 5:30. So I take them to daycare around like 6:30. I go to work 7 to 3. I pick them up from daycare around 3:30, and we sit there, we play.
We read books, we sing songs, we go to the park. He likes to exercise with me.
I be trying to teach him how to, his colors and ABCs and, his numbers and stuff like that.
they have fun, and then it's always time to go to bed in time. We read the book before we go to bed.
You listen closely and really carefully to these moms, and you hear their circumstance, and then in response to that, you come up with as many ideas as you can, and you figure out which of those are viable, which are feasible, and what do you do with them. In this project, we got 3 white guys who are not young, low-income moms. I think all of us have these preconceived notions it's going to be dramatic, it's going to be heart-wrenching, and it was to some extent, but at the same time, there was this very powerful optimism.
It's not the burden I think some of us come to assume it is.
When I have free time, gosh, it's hard to know what free time is anymore. Really, free time for me is going to the playground with my kids. You really realize that once you become pregnant or even just become a mom, your single, kid-free friends probably aren't going to be around for you much anymore.
I could probably stand to have more friends. I could probably benefit from a larger support group. I don't know a whole lot of people down here, and it becomes very isolating, it becomes very lonely.
I don't have like a social life. I really don't have no friends.
Being alone really makes you, it tests you mentally.
The same people that I used to talk to in high school, I don't talk to now because they are not the same. We don't have anything in common.
I mean, if there was any kind of opportunity to get out and meet people, I would jump on it in a second.
One car. And it's rough because we're trying to make sure that car stays up.
Yeah.
But if we have to do what we got to do.
Have you had problems with that car?
I had a whole bunch of problems. We still have a problem now. We got this tire that loves to stay going flat, but we try to keep it going. You know, it's hard, but it's all about you just want to make a living.
Now here I am, 19. I have 2 kids. I have my own apartment. I have a job. I had a car, but
What happened to your car?
my car had caught on fire. I only had a car 2 weeks, and it caught on fire. And I had my kids in it. And the only thing I could think about is jump out the car and get my kids, because I have to get back and forth to the doctors with them. I have no ride. You know, you offer somebody gas money, but they'll say they do it, the next thing you know, they'll change their mind. Then it's very difficult.
Me not having a car, it affected a lot, because that's why I had gotten fired from a couple of jobs, because either I was late or didn't have like a babysitter, or like my main thing was, or like having to wait just in general for a ride.
A cab from my house to my job is $4, and that's back and forth, so that's $8 a day. God forbid if I want to stop at the store, that's $5. Then if I want to go somewhere else just to go, that's extra money on the side to spend in the cab. So I spend about $100 in the cab a week.
First thing I do, if somebody give me $1,000, go put me a down payment on a car and give me a car. Because I need a car bad, seriously.
But I don't have my license and I don't have my permit. That's because nobody wants to teach me how to drive.
When I stayed in Michigan, there's like buses everywhere. It was like city-like. But then when I moved to South Carolina, there's no buses. Like I stay in Simpsonville now. There's no buses, no nothing. So I was having to wait on everybody for a ride.
From our perspective, I think it was about building a bigger toolbox of potential tools that we could use to solve systems level challenges impacting kids and families. For instance, the notion of empathy. That's something which we typically don't bring, I think, into our work in the social sector.
We've got to approach problems in a different way to get different solutions. To have folks who work every day thinking about creative solutions for-profit, large Fortune 500 companies, step into this arena provided us with just a totally different set of ears to hear what's going on. And I think that's really significant.
These are tenacious, hopeful moms who just want help being the best mom they can be. And I think by checking some of those assumptions on the front end, or at least being open to those assumptions being disregarded in the process, there's honesty in that to say, we're going to start where we start and we're going to end where we end. This is not about what the board wants or what the funder expects. This is about what the mom needs.
And so that's what we're trying to do here, is immerse ourselves in conversation with young moms who have young children and say, you tell us. I think what has emerged is something really unexpected.
It's illegal to ride in a car that you own with a child not buckled up in a car seat. But if you're in a taxi or a cab or a bus, they don't have to be in a car seat by the law.
One of our big ideas came when we watched a mom and her kids get around the way they typically do. She climbed in a taxi with her kids. They sat down and nobody was buckled. There were no car seats. And it just hit us. This is a really easy change to make. What if we put a car seat in every taxi in the state? What if we found an insurance company who'd be willing to underwrite it, or a nonprofit who'd be willing to sponsor it? We could make a big impact for the lives of moms and kids.
So how is it that we can overcome that? Could we get car seats in taxis? Could we get somebody to donate a bunch of car seats to a taxi company or a cab company? Would you use one that was in a cab? If you called a cab, would you use a car seat that was in the cab?
Yes.
Yeah.
My inclination, I think, coming into this project was, what sort of education of the mom needs to happen for her to know not to do that? And you brought to my attention, well, maybe the solution is through the cab driver. That totally changed, for me, my way of thinking about the problem and the potential solution.
18-year-old mom, 6-month-old, I think. She's working overtime just about every week at McAllister's on Augusta Road to make ends meet. And really what she needs is time. And she needs us to give her time to be the good mom that she wants to be.
The idea of taking some of the burden off of these moms so that they can move forward instead of adding an hour every month that they have to do something. Taking away some time of things that they have to do, that they're required to do, to allow them to move forward is an idea that I think this can bring to our table to look at how we can help families.
Right. Tamala Spann is the Program Officer for Early Childhood Development at the Mary Black Foundation, Spartanburg. Tammy.
Yeah, hey Joe.
How are you? We just wanted to pitch, in particular, 2 ideas to you today that we've had. Does that sound okay?
Okay.
Cool.
Sounds good.
One is called Make 10, and the idea there is kind of inspired by 2 things. One is the feedback that we heard from moms who were saying, gosh, I work a full-time job. Sometimes it's a 3rd shift job. I'm dropping off my child with a mom or a friend or a neighbor, and then they take them to daycare. And the thought was, what if we gave these grants to working mothers and said, these are clearly moms who are committed to supporting their children. They're clearly committed to hard work. What if we lighten their load a little bit? So this model is kind of a 30 plus 10. I think what it would look like is we have a mom who validates X number of hours a week that she's working. What we do is we then supplement that with additional funds, and the only expectation is, in exchange for those additional funds, we are programming some support for moms to say, hey, here are some ideas for a way to utilize those 10 hours with your children. If moms are saying, I'm busy, how do I do that? Well, could one of the paths be, well, what if we fund freeing up some time to do that?
Yeah.
First reaction I had when you started talking about it was, what a great idea. Second reaction I had was, okay, how would this work?
Government could take it over, foundations could take it over, support it, individual philanthropists. There are a whole range of options. But I think what we're talking about today is, are these ideas worth moving to the next stage of prototyping and testing?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
Yeah, that's great.
I like the idea of a young mother being able to work full time not have to go overtime to be able to make a living and, to be able to spend time at home with those kids, because that's ultimately what she's working for anyway.
Jason Gilliland is a professor at the University of Western Ontario whose expertise is the impacts of the built environment on children's health. He's jointly appointed professor, I think, in geography, architecture, and pediatrics.
Hello.
Hey Jason, it's Joe Waters. How are you?
I'm okay, thanks.
I'm going to give you kind of a quick background on what we're calling Parkify Project. The idea kind of born of an experience with a young mom where we encountered a mom who basically played in a parking lot. Is there a way that you could, in guerrilla style, parkify an asset like that? The cost part, I think with creativity, paint, some shade and some benches could be enough to have a hard surface and some places to sit. The liability is the one that's more concerning, but we thought we'd throw that at somebody like you and say, if we wanted to fund a Parkify project, could you hold a competition with young architects and say, with $5,000, how could you make this parking lot a park?
It sounds like a great idea. I mean, what's great about a parking lot is typically it's paved, so it'd be great for cycling, for riding a tricycle, playing basketball, whatever it may be. I think it's a fabulous idea, and it doesn't cost a lot of money to plant some trees. But I would want to look at it and say, well, how are people using it right now? Who is using it? So not only with the smart students, but you absolutely need to have the people from the neighborhood who are using it now.
Sure.
You really got to make it a participatory exercise where the community gets involved.
This situation where mom was taking the kid into this parking lot through this cut in the fence seemed to me like a safety issue. It seemed like not a great environment for the kid to be playing.
And so it may not actually be an unsafe place. It actually may be a safe place because other than that hole, it's fenced off.
And I think that's a really good point that we need to consider, because when we were in that neighborhood, I noticed no sidewalks.
Yeah.
And in fact, that parking lot looked better in terms of overall quality than that street.
Jason, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jason.
Okay.
Take care.
All
We'll
right.
be in touch.
Good luck, and yeah, please do keep in touch.
Absolutely. Bye-bye.
Bye.
This whole idea of social connections and parks, we know research says that the single greatest way to prevent abuse in a home is for mothers to have social connections with other mothers.
If you don't have somebody who you can turn to and say, are you going through this too? Then you feel like you're alone. And if you feel like you're alone, you feel like you're not succeeding. And you feel like your kid isn't going to make it, isn't gonna hit those benchmarks, isn't gonna succeed.
I separated myself from my friends when I first had my baby, and I would just be a mom, being mom, and I didn't have no friends there.
Yeah.
So she told me that it's always good to have some me time. So that's why they set up this thing where every Friday we would go out and do something, and it helps. It helps you a lot.
My first reaction to this concept of design thinking, I guess at first I was a little skeptical. I didn't really understand what we were doing. And then we sat down and we had that first conversation. And then, it became, these are doable. These are, tangible ideas. And they make sense. And they make sense, kind of at that micro individual community level.
If someone were to ask me what would make this project a success, I think generation of ideas that can be tested makes it a success. Even if some of those ideas fail, the success is in generating the ideas that are looking differently at the context of young moms.
And the solutions are not necessarily grandiose.
No.
Right?
No.
They can be little tweaks that can have big impact. And I think, we are sometimes romanced by the allure of the grandiose solution, the solution that's going to make us a hero, when in fact what the system really needs, what moms and kids really need, are small tweaks that make their lives easier, safer, healthier. And so I think what this can really help us do is open up new vistas in social policy for how we think about doing not just early childhood policy, all social policy. This is, I think, a new method, potentially, for observing problems, for applying the lens of empathy, for prototyping not so grandiose solutions and feeding them up into policy solutions that could really have big effect.
Best thing I would say about being a mother is hearing my children tell me they love me.
As long as they go to bed at night knowing that they're loved, you're doing okay. It's really a matter of you just need to be there for your kids.
My middle child was in soccer, and he scored a goal. He came up to me. He said, "Mommy, I scored a goal for you. I love you so much. Thank you." And at that moment, I was like, okay, I'm doing something right. Like, it's just those little moments that really mean the most.
Is this project a success? I would say yes, because I think it's helping us to rethink the way we think about how we serve people who have needs. As long as there's that give and take, which I think is really absent from a lot of our conversations in social work these days, then I think it's a huge success. Are we done? I would say no, because I think every day we're going to have to keep working at this.
This is a process that can be used to help young mothers and their children succeed. It's a lens. The project in and of itself was not meant to generate sweeping change as much as it was meant to be a catalyst for a new way of thinking and a new way of creating change. All of which though is rooted in the moms, in the people. I mean, this is human-centered at the end of the day. The exciting part is really what's next. The exciting part is, for us, how this now triggers activity in different communities. We already have people who are part of this saying, can we continue these conversations with moms? And of course, I mean, that's the whole point, is open, honest dialogue, trying to find answers that didn't before get to the surface.
We want communities, school districts, stakeholders to begin thinking about how they might incorporate the lessons of design thinking into their strategies for improving outcomes for young children and their families.
Design thinking is looking at the process as a whole, the same way a parent, as a mother, looks at their own lives and, what do I need to do to make sure my kid is happy, healthy, smart, successful, and on track, and at the same time, what do I need for myself to make sure that I'm doing those things as well. I mean, he needs friends, I need friends, and I think it's really kind of a unique way of looking at a big system-wide change, is looking at it the same way parents look at their day-to-day problems.